Hello, this is Julia Bushkova, and today the topic is advanced scales with acceleration. As most of you know, in this country there's a scales, we call them scales by Galamian, and I hope that all of you have done those scales. They're extremely useful. Galamian learned all his technical background with his teacher in Moscow. His name was Konstantin Mostras. And Mostras was very well known for a very good foundational technique that he gave to all of his students. And he's taught in Moscow Conservatory for many, many years after Galamian immigrated and so on. As we'll know from Galamian acceleration scales, we usually do those in 3 octaves scales. Those scales are usually started with the turn. The turn can be done either this way or that way. Correct? Whichever turn you take, it will give you the same result in terms of the number of notes that you will be dealing with. And then we start those scales, of course, 1 note per bow, then 2 notes per bow, duplet, then 3 notes per bow, triplet, and then we go to 4 notes per bow, which is a duplet again, 2 times 2, right? When we go back and we accelerate, we now do triplets, 3 notes, which of course makes it 6 notes per bow. Then we go to 8 notes per bow, the 12 notes per bow, and finally the whole octave, the whole 3 octaves up in 1 bow and back with another bow. Some people even go to the very fast tempo and go the whole scale in 1 bow. That's a bonus. In any case, so that's in a nutshell the Galamian system, so to speak. Now with Mostras, his teacher, we cover the missing links, which were not in this acceleration scheme. So, for instance, in this acceleration, we don't deal with any quintuplets or 5 notes on a beat or on a bow, right? Again, some teachers would do 5 notes per bow, which is very useful. 7 notes per bow, right? 9 notes per bow, and so on. So we don't really deal with those in the Galamian scales. So in Mostras scales, we do. And the system is presented a bit differently. So instead of thinking how many notes per bow you're using, you will be thinking how many notes per beat you are dealing with. And we assume from the beginning that you have 2 beats per bow, which is 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, and so on. So each bow has 2 beats. Then we play 1 note per beat. And we try not to think that this is actually 2 notes per bow. We just think 1 note per beat. All right, we come back to the beginning of the scale and we are adding 1 note per beat. Now we have 1, 2, 1, 2, and so on. We go all the way, and by the way, we're doing it on a 4 octave scale. Not on the 3 octave scale, but on the whole 4 octave scale. So you cover the whole fingerboard going to the top and coming back. And with 4 octaves, you do not need any turns. That's a good part too. Covering the whole fingerboard, not needing anything extra. Okay. When you come back from the 2 notes per beat, you are welcome to add a 3rd note per beat. And again, in this manner, you go all around the scale. All right, when you come back to note of G, it won't, what I call, come out cleanly to restart on a G down bow. In other words, it won't come like this. So you can go and add another note per beat. No, it won't come like that. You will be actually not quite there. It will be somewhere in the middle of your count. So that means you cannot stop. You have to go yet another round, and you have to repeat that scale as many times as it will take for you to finally. And at this point you can add another note per beat, which will make it 4 notes per beat. All right, with 4 notes per beat. So you probably guessed the rule of this game. The rule of the game is you can only add another note per beat and make it, triplet or quadruplet or quintuplet if your G comes cleanly on the down bow. So here we are in the lesson, and these are 2 freshmen students of mine, Landon and Andre. And then they will be assisting us in learning this type of acceleration scale. So you can just start from the G, 1 note per beat, please. So you did this, and as you practice at home, you know that this comes out very cleanly on the G string being, again, down bow, right? Then you can add another note per beat. Please demonstrate to us how that will be. Now 2 notes per beat. Landon, when you come back, will you come cleanly again to the G string from 2 notes per beat?
Yes.
You will. All right, wonderful. That's good news, because that means we can go to 3 notes per beat. So would you please show us how you will finish? And probably. And without stopping, right, you will go to 3 notes per beat, just yourself. Exactly. Thank you. Okay, so what we see here right now is that Landon cannot stop and cannot go to another note, cannot add another note per beat because it didn't come out onto the G being on down bow cleanly, right? So you keep going again around this whole scale until you come back. Okay, so now from here we can go to 4 notes per beat. Andre, do you think you can demonstrate 4 notes per beat? Again, we're demonstrating that even though it was cleanly G, but it wasn't on down bow, we still keep going, and you go 1 more round this way, right? And you come down, and then it will be G on down bow. Okay, wonderful. Next one is the hard one. Now, Landon practiced it, and he's already smiling. So that's okay. So in order to be successful with 5 notes per beat, which we probably are by now, right? You have practiced it? Sometimes, right? Okay, and well, let's try to do it together. So how did you help yourself to survive the 5 notes per beat of quintuplets?
Well, one thing that helped was memorizing where the bow changes were as I came back down the scale, like the second time, and then the third time which notes that I changed bows on.
That's provided that you didn't make any mistakes,
yeah.
Right? But initially, how would you do the 5 notes? Andre, how would you do the 5 notes to start with, to play 5 notes per beat? Would you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or would you maybe say something, some other syllable, some little phrase? How would you deal with that?
I think maybe smaller groups, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1.
So subdividing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Correct, yeah. That is a valid thing. It gets a little bit boring a little bit repetitive, not so much boring, repetitive. Sometimes we can just forget which one we are on, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, and so on, right? But it's a good way. What I was doing, since this exercise was introduced to me through Professor Mostras, or he was the famous one from whom we all knew it, we always said to ourselves, Mostras professor. He was a professor of Moscow Conservatory. And it's maybe a little bit too many R's for American speakers, English speakers, but for us, Mostras professor, Mostras professor, Mostras professor, it was exactly 5 syllables. That's what I kept in my mind when I was going through those things first time. So let's try to do this Mostras professor. Let's see if we're going to be lucky. So now our beats are rather slow right now because we're just learning this thing, right? Ta 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 ta. Okay, so here we go. And so forth. Okay, good. I mean, you've survived 1-1. Of course, I know that you already practiced that. Good. But you see, this little phrase or some other phrase, if you come up with this, right, that is easy to say and easy to repeat over and over, is a big helping point in the beginning. Later, you won't need anything. That's the whole beauty of this scale and practicing it this way, that you will not need to later on think 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, anything. You will just have 5 as easy as you have 4, which you pretty much never count, or 3 by now, correct? Okay, so how many times does the 5 happen? Have you found out?
I think it's 5 times.
5 times, it's exactly right. So after you're over the scale 5 times, you will cleanly come to the down bow. Now, if we play and we don't come out with the down bow, it means that we got something off. In your experience, what usually happened at first when you could not come out correctly?
I would switch to 6 notes per bow sometimes, and that would mess me up.
And not noticing, right? And actually counting 5, but somehow maybe getting 6 somewhere. Okay, and it's true. It could be 6, it could be 4. It's just some kind of unevenness. For some people, it's actually mistaken count. Some people, it is could happen because of a shift. Maybe it's too accentuated, too rough, maybe, or something distracts you and you just change the bow. You assume that you were in the right place and you weren't, and then of course you play it forever and you never come out. And then the whole point of this exercise is that we do not stop. When we finally learn how to switch from one to another, we do not stop, first of all, between the numbers of notes, or between the quintuplets and sextuplets, no. And then we go to septuplets, octuplets, and even to what we call 9 notes per bow, because it's easier to say. 9 notes per beat, I'm sorry. So it's actually 18 notes per bow, but 9 notes per beat. The whole principle of this scale again rests on the fact that the beats are unchanging. And when you are comfortable playing this with the beats just being in your head, the next step you want to take is actually to put metronome. And to put metronome, you could be nice to yourself at first and start at 50, but then you move it to 60, and 60 becomes your benchmark of the beats, okay? You can always even go faster, but that is with the idea that when you get to 9 notes per beat, what your fingers can handle, and when they're better and faster, your overall beat can also move up. But with a 60 would be our really desired the beat count, okay? So I wish you good luck with this exercise. When you have time, you can do the whole of the exercise, which is going up to 9, going through 9, and then coming back. 1 off 8, 1 off 7, 1 off 6. But you can do it only on vacation when you have plenty of time, because that takes about, I think, 12 to 14 minutes straight if you're playing it in up tempo. All right? Very good for you. Thank you for good demonstration and good practicing. This is it for today. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and I will see you all later.